Yeah, I think it's important to be reliable for a better future, really. Can you imagine sort of living in a world and nobody was reliable, or nobody got out of bed, and nobody, it's like not caring really, isn't it? It's just sort of like not giving the monkeys about anything really.
Could you really imagine that though,
Yeah.
mate? Imagine like tomorrow morning, like loads of nurses, loads of doctors, loads of everyone.
Yeah, not turning up.
All of a
work,
sudden
or
decided not, like we're gonna have a day off.
if humans weren't reliable.
Imagine if there was a national. Imagine if there was a global national sick day.
I think there is, isn't there? I think there is.
Well, imagine if all the people on sick day were off, mate. Literally there was no one working, mate. Things would not function. Could you imagine that, mate? That would bring society to a halt, to a standstill. You know?
Yeah, I mean it's like clocks. They help really, don't they? For us to keep time.
Yeah.
When we it's like this show really. We record it every week, don't we? And we're quite reliable with it, aren't we?
Oh yeah, of course,
and,
yeah.
It's
consistent.
Yeah, and I just feel like it makes people happier when people are reliable. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, true, yeah.
If this world was absolutely reliable and nothing went wrong, and the trains never went on strike and they were late and everything was reliable, I think people would be a lot more happier today. They'd be just a bit happier than they are today. I feel.
Yeah.
If everyone was reliable in this world.
Yeah.
But I don't think everybody is, are they?
Well, in all honesty, right, mate, I think that a large majority of the population are really, because if you think about it, you know, most people do get up and go to work every day. Most people that have got a job and are obligated,
They don't like being late because they don't like losing money, do they? Really?
Exactly, and they essentially know the purpose in which they're there for. You know, it might not be a long-term solution, but it's a stepping stone sometimes. You know. But yeah, you have to be reliable in life, you know. Otherwise, like I said earlier, you lose your value, become unemployable, you become unfriendable, if that's a word. You know, it's reliability. When people like even basic things like just not getting to work on time, if that's something that you know you do consistently, and something as petty as that you can easily rectify. Is easily, you know, it's constantly causing you your employment, then that's, you know, something you've got to work on, isn't it? It's, you know, it's about self-growth, you know. No one's perfect. We're all imperfect, and we all make mistakes, and we all mess up sometimes, and we don't always get it right. That's just part of being human. But it's just about learning from these things, like, you know. I remember when I first started my first job, if you see what I mean, you know. I was doing other things, like I was busy, I was in the streets at that time, and, you know, I was, you know, just preoccupied with a lot of other things, like I was living a very fast life and trying to work at the same time, and I remember even then not taking it as seriously as I should have been, but that was my first job. I was only like 15, 16, if you see what I mean. But then after that, you know what I mean, after I left that job, I didn't even get fired from that job, I left that job. And then after I left that job, I went to work at another job. I was just like, I'm gonna always get it right from now onwards. I'm not gonna be ever late. I'm not ever gonna be, you know. Because I remember my old job, occasionally, my old boss, you know, before I left, you know, because I got another job, you know, I got offered another job, so I left. But I remember just before I left, a couple of times he said, oh, you know, you'll get to work late, you know, a few times. And a lot of the time it was because of the public transport, to be honest, you know. But it wasn't really an excuse, because he would say you should have left earlier. You should have got an earlier bus then, if you see what I mean. You know, but that, you know, I did, but it was still didn't really, you know. But they don't, you know, they're not always as understanding. You know, they want you to be there on time to do the job in which they've employed you to do, and that's understandable.
Well, I think that's
so. Yeah, but after that, I made sure that I was, you know, it just never happened again. If I had to be at work at 7 o'clock, I was there at 10 to 7. At the latest, if you see what I mean. Like I'm there and getting ready to start and to get on with what I need to do, so I can, you know, come 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, I can leave. You know.
Well, I think that's the biggest reason why people do lose their job and get sacked, because they're not reliable. I think.
Yeah.
One of the biggest reasons, anyway.
Yeah.
Because they've overslept.
Yeah.
I mean, drinking bit, you know, going out for a drink. I think that sort of prevents you from being so reliable.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Things
And it's
like
going to
that.
affect your performance the next day too. If you get really inebriated and then try to go to work, you're not going to be as sharp as you would normally be, if you see what I mean. You're not going to be on point as much as you would nearly be. And then the reality is that your colleagues would then have to pick up the slack, and that's not always fair. Especially if, like, it depends on your job, of course, but if you're doing a job that's quite hard, quite busy, quite long hours, quite, you know, a bit of pressure, it's not fair for your colleagues to have to be picking up the slack, you know. Just because you can't be, you know, you can't be reliable.
Well, they get angry, don't they?
It's
Your friends will get angry if you don't turn up. Depending what job it is.
Yeah.
Let's say you're building a house and the labourer doesn't turn up.
Yeah.
It annoys the bricklayers.
Yeah, of course, yeah, of course.
Because they've got to do themselves a bit.
But it's
they
like-
paid you to come along
Yeah.
on a Sunday, say, or on a Saturday, say, to do a bit of overtime, and you don't turn up because you've gone out all the night drinking or whatever. And they've got to mix it up and they get behind, you know what I mean? And if they get angry, and they probably get rid of you, is what I mean, especially if you're really unreliable.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I'm somebody that's always been reliable at work. I feel like it's just important. It's just as important as respect, really. But I just feel that you can't really rely on anyone, really, or it's like, I just feel like sometimes, not with you I don't, because I know you and I feel like I can count on you and trust you, but some people I don't know, I expect them to sort of be on quite reliable most of the time, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't let it get me down.
No, yeah.
If you saw what I mean. I
It's
just
almost
sort of
like you
kind of laugh at it a
you
bit.
expect it.
Yeah, I kind of laugh at it and expect it. But the last time I went to the doctors, you know, I didn't expect that, bit waiting that long, you know, and yeah, that was...
But like we were talking about
that's
earlier as
reliable.
well, it's like, the thing is that it's okay when it's the other way around, like when they're making you wait, you have to sit there and wait and be patient, no matter, like you said, it could be an hour, it could be two, sometimes in your case, you know, can't believe 3 hours. And but if it was the other way around, like we said earlier, like if you had an appointment for 9 o'clock in the morning, let's say, and you turned up at 12 o'clock lunchtime and said, oh, I'm ready for my appointment, they would look at you like you're absolutely, you know, you're crazy, you know, something not quite right with you, you know. You know, so it's okay for them to make you wait, but then, you know, if you know, like I said, if you're a few hours late or whatever the case may be, you won't get your appointment. You'll have to wait another 2 weeks. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And if you were late for, say, a job interview, you probably won't get a job.
No, not a good look.
It's like a cross straight away.
Not unless you've got like a good excuse. And that's another thing. Like, I'm glad that you brought that up, because it's like it's just about taking shit serious. You know, it's just about becoming an adult, really, about maturing. You know.
For yourself, for your own good.
Yeah, because it's only going to benefit you, and if you don't become like that, then it's going to be to your detriment. That's the reality, you know. People don't like to hear that because it sounds a bit harsh. You know, the truth is always the hardest pill to swallow, as they say. But it's true, you know. Like I said earlier, you lose your value. You know, it's about discipline. You know, being responsible. You know, yeah.
I think we've got to have a duty every day to do certain things. Like, for instance, we've got to rely on our own body, for instance, you know, to work in good working order. Let's put it that way. So you've got to be responsible about what you eat.
Yeah.
You have got to be very responsible about what you do. You can't just lay in bed every day and do nothing.
No.
Because your body will suffer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've got to get up and do a bit of exercise.
Yeah. But the thing is that about us humans is obviously the word. I don't want to go too deep with it or too in depth with it, but we are electrical beings. Yeah. The word human means light being. You know, if you can look it up right now on Google, any search site, originally it was spelled differently, but it means light being. You know, light meaning essentially energy. you have to move your energy around your body, if you see what I mean. Like you're saying, you have to get up and you have to have movement, you know. If you're sat down all the time, or just laying down all the time, or not really having much movement at all, you know, no circulation going on throughout the body, the blood's not moving.
You get colder for one.
Yeah, the energy's not moving throughout your body. That's not good, you know. You need a certain amount of exercise every day for your body to, you know, to maintain your body essentially, to keep everything.
You can actually exercise in bed.
You can do, yeah, for sure, yeah. That's true.
I'm not talking about sex.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Just doing press ups in bed and things.
Whatever. Yeah, but there's some people that obviously, sometimes in order for their recoveries, whatever it is, so, you know, post operations and shit, sometimes they're given, you know, when they see a physiotherapist or whatever the case may be, they're given exercises that they have to do, and a lot of the time they have to do them obviously at the beginning in the bed, don't they, while they're laying down, you know.
I mean, that's another thing when you go to hospital, you know, you've got to rely on good doctors, and you've got to rely on the staff, really.
Yeah, good healthcare.
You know, because you're sort of like, could be helpless, couldn't you?
You're
like a baby again.
In the hands of other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a baby really relies on everyone.
Yeah.
They
completely dependent.
Yeah. On every adult around, really. Without parents or nobody there, the child would die, the baby would die.
Oh yeah.
You know, so yeah, it's got to be reliable, haven't you, when you've got a baby, and sort of look at it or think about it 24 hours a day almost, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. And that again comes back down to, again, being a parent, being mature. Sometimes people become parents at a young age, and the reality is that you still got to step up and do what needs to be done. You know what I mean? You know, if you're old enough to have unprotected sex and get pregnant at a young age, and some people would argue, say, oh, they didn't know what they were doing, they were both young. They knew what they were doing, because, you know what I mean? They obviously engaged in something and they knew what they were doing. Children are not silly, you know what I mean? Especially in this day and age that we live in today. Children are very advanced from a very young age. You know, I remember being advanced at my age, at a young age. I can only imagine how advanced children are today at their young ages. You know, because of the way the world is today and what they're exposed to. But yeah, you know.
I feel I would have been more intelligent if the internet was invented 50 years ago and it was in the schools.
Yeah.
I mean, I started learning about the internet 25 years ago.
Yeah.
A little bit. Not the internet, sorry, computers. Maybe the internet 20 years ago, I suppose.
Yeah.
Maybe just over, but whatever. Time goes really quick, actually.
It does, yeah.
You've got to rely on your computer to work as well.
Yeah.
It's horrible when sometimes my computer goes wrong and it gets stuck. I shut it down and I'm just sort of praying that it's going to
come back on.
Yeah, start back up. Yeah.
We become so reliant on things in society, don't we? And I think a lot of it's, like we talk about all the time, comes through complacency. We get so used to having things, if you see what I mean, that it becomes second nature.
Yeah.
Like, we don't think twice about the electricity, we don't think twice about the internet, we don't think twice about all these things, if you see what I mean. But yeah, you know. But we rely on them so heavily.
Well, today, everyone's relying on electricity big time, aren't they? I mean, we spoke about it before in the previous episodes. Like I say, it's electric when it sort of messed people right up, really, all over. I think it changed us, really. Like, if, say, like we had a power cut right all around the world, and we didn't have enough energy to do it again or something, or they made it illegal to use electricity now, say, and oil. It would change us, and we'd have to sort of go to our old ways in a way. I think we do rely on electricity. It's making life a lot easier for everyone too.
Yeah. And
it can help keep you warm during the night. Some people have electric blankets and all kinds. And just electric, I feel, it's given us all a bit of a longer lifespan, and it's just made life a little bit more comfortable. can heat our homes up a bit more comfortably without. I mean, we used to heat our homes up with chimney and all that a couple hundred years ago, and it used to sort of people used to sort of breathe it all in.
Yeah.
And it used to cause fires. It just like caused a lot of different problems. Yeah. So electric, like I say, we rely on it with our credit cards. With shopping, big time.
Yeah.
So I don't know what will happen, and the internet as well.
Yeah.
It brings the internet alive.
It brings the two things connect the whole world together. When you think about it, the two things combine, mate, because obviously you need the electric for the internet.
Yeah.
But these two things combined
They do.
bring the whole world together.
Electricity's all around.
This is what brings these two things, literally, when you think about it, the electricity and the internet connect right now, are connecting the whole world together.
That's right, yeah.
If either or, well, it doesn't matter. It's not if the electricity goes. It's, you know what I mean. That's it. But even if the internet went for a while, that's, you know, that would still affect humanity. Obviously, if you still had electricity and the internet was gone, we wouldn't be affected as much because we still got electric. If you see what I mean. If you get what I'm saying. But if you lost the internet, you know, that would still affect the amount of like businesses and.
Just everything.
Everything.
Like, communication breakdown.
Exactly. Like it would affect things on a global scale so tremendously.
It make people feel a bit lonelier. Some people.
Yeah.
Like I won't be phoning my mum up.
Yeah.
You know, I phone her up at least once a week. You know. So I won't be able to do that, and it kind of connects us without us thinking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was born with phone technology. But I don't think it's been in our world that long. Only 100 years, just over 100 years, I think.
Yeah.
And look how far it's gone. You know, we've got the internet around our world, and I just feel people would be completely lost, and children, young teenagers or whatever, be completely lost if the electric went. I think even if it went for a week, I think people would be confused.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Nobody would play games anymore. Maybe some people would, but you know, if they've got a power generator or some kind. But I think we'll be completely buggered up.
Yeah.
If you know, the electric, when we rely on it big time.
Humanity would be lost.
We rely on electric big time. I mean, electric, when it was invented, it kind of spread it around the world slowly until they got it around.
Yeah.
Then they started putting the telephone wires on there, and now we've got the internet.
Yeah.
Whatever, you know, and it's just incredible. TV and internet, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's all wireless as well. It kind of all goes through the air, all this information. It's quite incredible how all this information's going through the oxygen and it's invisible.
Yeah.
If you see what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I find it incredible.
You can't see it.
No.
It's all these frequencies are bouncing around all around us, if you see what I mean. But they're not visible to the human light spectrum, are they? You know. Yeah.
Not even rely on, like I said earlier on, oxygen. What we breathe in.
Yeah. Well, generally people rely on other people very heavily. If you think about it, people rely on farmers, you know, predominantly.
So we rely on each other.
Predominantly, if you think about it, a large majority of the world relies on farming, you know, and, you know, essentially if you think about it, for food, no food, if you know what I mean, no one's farming and producing all the crops, all the vegetation,
I think
all the livestock, and, you know, doing, you know, it's
like the sewers, somebody's got to do that, haven't they?
Yeah.
You know, all these jobs have got to be done.
All got to be done. In order for society to function cohesively, all these
So the
jobs
sewer
have to be
people went on strike. What would happen then? Do you know what I mean?
There'd be a lot of shit.
That's a good one. That's a good joke. It would be though, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. But I mean, can they go on strike? You know, that's the question, isn't it? I mean, it's like the trains are doing it, and they're distracting everyone. And I think, like, wow, if the sewer people went on strike, surely that would distract everyone. I don't know, or whether it is automatically. done without any people. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it is. I think it is.
Because I think there are a few occupations that aren't allowed to strike, aren't there? If you see what I mean, because of the nature of the job. If you see what I mean.
Like police.
Yeah, I think the police are one of them. I think I think you might be right. Because obviously, if they're not on the job, who's going to do the job? If you see what I mean.
There's like the dustbin. If they went on strike for a couple of months, right, there'd be rubbish everywhere.
Everywhere.
And then there'd be flies everywhere.
That used to happen in the Caribbean sometimes, right, mate? Growing up on a small island and stuff. Not very often, but somewhere like once or twice a year they go on strike. Obviously demanding more money, like all strikes are mostly about. And sometimes for weeks, mate, you see like all the rubbish bins full to the top, and then obviously there's nowhere else to put the rubbish, and then they start piling it up next to the rubbish, And sometimes I remember going like through like not close, like not exactly where I live, but like when you go into like the capital, let's say, during the strikes during those times, walking through all the busy streets around all the shops and all the everywhere else and all the large bins outside, like it was awful because it's just rubbish everywhere, like
It's like the streets of.
and then it brings rodents and all that type of shit, and you know what I mean. But obviously they eventually work it out and they kind of clear it all up and it all goes back to normal, but it's not nice.
It's like the streets of Philadelphia.
Mm.
It's disgusting there at the moment. I can't work out. I'm scratching my head why. I can't understand it. It's really, I think it's one of the worst towns I've ever seen, and it's sad seeing it and scary in a funny way, because there's a lot of people on certain kinds of drugs and they're just sort of standing still like statues like that. But it just seems like it wasn't like that 10 years ago, and it just looks like that today, like a rubbish dump. You know what I mean? And it's just a little bit freaky. It's like a zombie place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I wonder whether it's coming to this country. If you see what I mean. I hope not.
Hopefully not. I was just going to say, hopefully not, mate. Like, it's quite. Well, I was going to say the documentary, but I'd seen some stuff before. But then, obviously, watching that documentary that time with you as well. Well, part of it anyway, not the whole thing. But it is really quite shocking to see. See people literally neglected. Yeah, these people need serious help, and it's almost like a epidemic in itself.
Like nobody cares if they die.
No. And imagine, like we were talking about earlier, imagine being a child or a school child walking home from school or commuting home from school and having to go past that and see that every day, because that's close to where you live or your neighbourhood or whatever the case may be. Seeing like hundreds of people, a few hundred people all lined up, living on the streets, doing drugs together, passed out. Literally, like you said, some of them were like statues, literally.
I don't know whether it's like that all over there, but I just saw the streets of Philadelphia, what's happened to it, what's happened to Philadelphia today, because it's really gone downhill in 10 years, and that's quite scary, really. I think everything's gone downhill, isn't it? There's been recession, and then banks closing down and shutting down. And I think it's been a bit of a drama for everyone, if you sort of mean. And then the shutdown, then we're sort of thinking, what go next, it's like watching EastEnders or something. Not that I watch that. I'm just sort of saying it's like a show, isn't it? That we're a reality show, a real reality show, that we're all living today and witnessing all at the same time. And whatever goes on the news, we're all listening to it all at the same time. And we all got our different opinions about what's being said, and some things being said are lies. And as you know, fake news and all this, whatever. You just don't know what to believe or whatever. We've got to rely on good news, don't we, as well? Truthful news, and just got to rely on honesty.
You're never ever gonna get that from the. From the main news outlets. You're never ever going to really get a full story or real story. You don't get much truth, to be very honest, from these mainstream media outlets. A lot of them just it's a lot of rubbish, to be honest.
And it's a shame because, like I say, we're all relying on honest truth. But as I say, like a newsreader, they're just reading what they're given, and that's edited. And they just sort of like they don't know whether it's true or not either. Do you know what I mean? They just sort of read, and that's their job. That's what they get paid for, basically.
Yeah, reading off.
But they might be reading out lies, big lies, but they're not aware of it.
No.
Of course, they're just getting paid out to read whatever out, if you sort of mean.
What's on the teleprompter?
Yeah, and sometimes we're, as we know, we're being dished out lies now and again, and we're getting a bit confused sometimes, and whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I'd love to live in the world of honesty, reliability, truth. It'd be great if everybody was perfect like that, if you see what I mean. I mean, when you're at school, when you're young, it's kind of like they brainwash you to be reliable a bit, in a funny way. It's like when you're late, they kind of punish you for it somehow or whatever. They don't like it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's very important for children at schools to be reliable.
Well, as we always say as well, obviously as we know, school is essentially preparing you for the working world.
Yeah.
So getting there at a certain time, having a break at a certain time, your lunch, you know, and then obviously, you know, finishing at a certain time. So that's what it is. Like you said, it is programming for reliability in a sense.
Yeah, getting you ready to work.
It's teaching about punctuality, about being responsible, essentially. Because that is, as much as some people might not like it, or, you know, people might object to it, or whatever the case may be, that is just the reality in which we live in. And the sooner people accept it, the better.
I don't like it though, because I don't think it's right.
I don't think it's right either, but the reality is that a lot of people can't just give up their job tomorrow, if you see what I mean, you know, because they'll be out on the street.
I believe that we could live in a different world with a different angle. And we do, this business world was invented, okay, and we're going along with it. But I just know that, say, a different race on a different planet, they never like humans, and they lived in the kind of same world, but they didn't invent money, and they just sort of like had a different system between them where they did things with each other, but there was just no money. You know, I just know that there's different systems to what we got now.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, now we're starting to go to plastic, if you see what I mean. It is changing slowly, every decade it changes.
Yeah.
And it's not always been, we never used to always have money around. So things can be different.
Yeah.
And I'm just sort of wondering if the electric did go, that would make things a little bit different, because money would screw things up a little bit, you know, especially if it was permanent. You know, because you know, computers wouldn't be able to remember what's in your bank account and that, and can't, you know, I don't know, do you know what I mean? It just messes things up a little bit, I feel. You know, we're living in a very electrical world today. It's turning electrical anyway.
Yeah.
More, every year that goes by, the more electrical it gets.
Oh, of course, yeah,
And
yeah.
I feel like the more electrical gadgets that get invented too. Like a microwave's quite a new one too, you know. Yeah, you know. But you know, I think we rely on electric, that's for sure. I mean, I wouldn't like to, you know, if the electric went tomorrow, I don't think I'd be so happy.
Yeah, of course. Like most people, that would be a kind of a universal.
Yeah. I don't think I could enjoy life so much. I mean, one, the trains wouldn't run.
Yeah.
I don't think they run on electric, so I'd have to cycle all the way to my mum's, or how would I get to my mum and brother's? You know, because I think that's all.